It is 5 o'clock, and thank you for all coming out this evening. I am here tonight on behalf of the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. My name is Michael Dowd, and I'm the Director of DEQ's Air Quality Division. With me this evening from DEQ are Tom Ballou, who's our Director of Air Quality Planning, and Angie Jenkins, who's our Policy Director, signing folks in the back there. As you know, the Environmental Protection Agency has issued a proposed rule known as a Section 111D plan to cut greenhouse gases from existing power plants that generate electricity from fossil fuels. The EPA comment period for the proposal is currently open and will close on October 16, 2014. They expect to publish a final rule in June of 2015 next year. These new EPA rules may have a significant impact on the Commonwealth, and implementing them will be a challenge. Here in Virginia, we're looking at the proposal and trying to determine what the best approach will be. We are now asking for your input to help DEQ we're asking for your input to help DEQ frame its approach. We're asking for input on how we should frame our comments to EPA on EPA's proposal. Now, this is not a formal public hearing. We're trying to keep this very informal. This is a listening session, and it's a chance for you to give us, here at DEQ, your early ideas on how we should address EPA's proposed greenhouse gas plan. Now, this meeting is being recorded, and we will post the recording of this tonight's session on our greenhouse gas webpage. Now, please try to limit your comments tonight to approximately 5 minutes. Tom Ballou will be timing, and when you're within a minute, he will flash a 1-minute sign. We will hold up that sign when you have 1 minute. Thank you all for coming, and we appreciate your input. Now, if you want to send us written comments in writing, you may do so until August 15th. And all of the contact information on how to submit comments and who to send them to is on the public notice. It's both on our website, and Angie has a lot of copies of it back there for you to take home with you. And with that, I think we'll get started. And the first speaker this evening is Sam Brumberg. Right there, yes.
Good evening. My name is Sam Brumberg. I am counsel to the Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware Association of Electric Cooperatives with responsibility for regulatory affairs. We're pleased to be here tonight representing over 1.5 million electric cooperative member owners in the Commonwealth. A few things I want to mention here in the listening session. Number one, cooperatives are different. The members of the electric cooperative both own the enterprise and comprise the rate base of the utility. The utilities are operated on a not-for-profit basis and at cost. Whereas other utilities are organized with shareholders and ratepayers, electric cooperatives have only their members from which to recover costs. We also have a structure where separate enterprises are used to generate and transmit electricity versus distribute it. Virginia's distribution electric cooperatives buy power at wholesale and have little direct control over its generation. Some own small generating facilities. Some buy power from a wholesale generation and transmission cooperative known as ODEC. My colleague, David Hudgens, will speak later as a representative of ODEC. Yet other Virginia distribution cooperatives buy wholesale power through long-term contracts with other for-profit generators inside and outside of Virginia. I want to summarize our position on these issues by noting 3 important points. Number one, we are absolutely certain that the EPA proposal will cause electric rates to rise. The only question that remains is by how much. Some extremely optimistic estimates are that rates will rise approximately 40%. It may be more. We are certain that assumptions are embedded into the EPA's building blocks that are overly optimistic and or technically not possible to achieve. This will result in the shutdown of coal plants, stranding those assets, and forcing a move into natural gas. This will put cooperative ratepayers on the hook for additional infrastructure and pipeline investment. EPA's energy efficiency proposals come with little guidance on measurement, verification, or enforcement. And finally, number 3, we believe that the EPA proposal will harm economic development and cause the Commonwealth to become less competitive in the marketplace. The proposal not only comes with a huge number of unanswered questions, but is alarmingly uninformed about how electricity is generated, transmitted, and delivered in this country. EPA had little more than perfunctory contact with FERC officials in reviewing the proposal, and FERC commissioners testified to this in a recent congressional hearing. We urge DEQ to consult with the State Corporation Commission and utility industry stakeholders closely to understand what is technically possible and physically feasible when implementing this proposal. Utility regulators and staffers alike will tell you that a 6% increase in efficiency at a coal plant such as Clover, one of the most modern and cleanest coal plants in the country today, is simply not possible. The EPA proposal also fails to account for the regional nature of transmission. We urge DEQ to consult with PJM, Virginia's regional transmission organization, to understand this more fully. We also urge DEQ to avail itself of special considerations for rural electric cooperatives that EPA has offered as part of its proposal. We will be submitting more detailed and written comments. I would conclude by saying that EPA's proposal represents a drastic rewrite of energy policy for Virginia, decisions that should be left to legislators and policymakers here in the Commonwealth. The interests of Virginia's electric cooperative member owners demand that we provide them with affordable, reliable, and safe electricity at the lowest reasonable cost. EPA's attempt to regulate carbon emissions through the Clean Air Act threatens that mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is David Hutchins.
My name is David Hudgens. I'm Director of Member and External Relations for Old Dominion Electric Cooperative. We are a wholesale G&T. I want to thank the DEQ for taking time, effort, and away from their families for these proceedings, because there's nothing more important than what we would like to decide of how we power this country. The 111D proposal goes way too far and way too fast. We believe in voluntary standards for reductions, not mandates. But that said, ODAC is a not-for-profit. It has a responsibility to its member consumers to provide their power at the lowest reasonable price that is environmentally balanced. The rule affects ODAC through both its own assets as well as affecting our purchase power that comes from a variety of sources, some of which are coal-fired generation, and when you take coal off the table, then you don't have a fuel diversity that is required to keep prices down. We've been involved in projects that include nuclear, coal, natural gas, as well as renewables. We've been involved in energy efficiency and demand reduction programs for many years. We firmly believe that we have to utilize all our energy resources, that Virginia needs every megawatt from every source. While there are 4 building blocks the state has suggested to be used by EPA, we are obviously concerned that the complexities of outside of the fence implementation will have serious economic ramifications, creating a new term originated from the European Union, which they are struggling with today, is energy poverty. Instead of the model for the world to emulate, Europe has become a model of what not to do, and that came out of the Calgary Herald in May of 2013. Assumptions regarding the building block targets are very aggressive, and there's serious concerns they forced implementation will significantly increase our member consumers' electricity bills. 6% heat rate efficiency improvements is not feasible for our Clover plant since it's already the most efficient east of the Mississippi. Demand side energy and efficiency improvements of 1.5% per year are neither feasible nor enforceable. Nuclear power is not given the full credit as a non-emitting resource. General issues regarding potential stranded costs for coal units, which companies have already invested huge amounts to increase efficiency and add controls. Ratepayers will have to continue to pay for these useless assets, then pay for the infrastructure and the distribution of gas, because the gas is not where it's needed. And since the electric industry responded to the federal rules in the 1970s that banned the use of gas and forced us into the coal plants that we built with hundreds of billions of dollars, to be then said that we can't use coal and we're going to switch back to natural gas. Who's going to pay? It's not the utilities. It's going to be you, the ratepayer, or the member owner in the case of cooperatives. The 2012 base year used is arguably one of the lowest generating years since 2005 and should not be considered representative for purposes of calculating targets. We urge Virginia to be very prudent in any decision relating or creating any regional plan like Reggie in the Northeast that New Jersey just withdrew. At the end of the day, even though all the parties take necessary and perhaps very costly steps in various building blocks, who will be responsible for the compliance, the demonstration, and incur enforcement penalties? If the other building blocks do not yield their desired results, all this remains to be determined. These decisions and the mechanism to enforce them should lie with the state and not the federal government. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yes. Our next speaker is Alan Sharrett.
Good evening. My name is Alan Sharrett, and I'm Vice President of Public and Member Relations with Southside Electric Cooperative. Southside Electric covers territory in Central and Southside Virginia, serving over 56,000 homes and businesses across 24 Virginia municipalities. I'm here to give you the perspective of the individual cooperative member in my service area. Our members are already making hard choices that come with living in a very rural area. Our density, or number of meters per mile of line, is just under 7 meters per mile of line, making us among Virginia's most rural certificated service territories. Costs to serve rural areas are higher because of differences in the amount of property, plant, and equipment that must be dedicated to serving our members. While investor-owned utilities serving more densely populated areas can spread their costs over 30 to 40 customers per mile, Southside Electric must provide reliable service, the same service, with around 7 customers per mile of line. We do all we can to save our members money and are extremely sensitive to how much it costs for us to purchase power at wholesale and then deliver it to our members through our distribution system. At the end of the day, the members of SEC cannot afford an increase in their electric bills. They have already taken significant measures to be efficient, to decrease usage, and to make improvements to their homes. Today, as we speak, they are making hard choices between food, prescription drugs, and electricity. And I fear that the EPA's proposal and electricity costs moving higher, with those factors, they will have to make even harder choices in the future. I want to emphasize that the hard choices are already being made today. This is not a scare tactic, but rather a reality of life for many Southside Electric members. Income, both per capita and personal disposable income, trend lower in our service area, and 15% of the population is age 65 or older. Unemployment is higher than average. There's just not enough money to go around, and I urge DEQ to ask EPA how it expects residential retail electric members to pay for the rate increases that EPA's proposal will cause. You will not simply be creating a new problem for our members, you will be exacerbating an existing problem. When farms and small towns across our country were first electrified in the mid to late 1930s, electricity was a luxury item that few rural Americans had ever known. Nowadays, electricity is a necessity, essential to our modern way of life, and it continues to be an essential economic engine. And now, because of EPA's proposals,